Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to double game week 25's deadline. We're recording this on Friday. We've got a deadline today on Friday. My team Brighton take on Chelsea. Can they do the double in a week on them? Neale, welcome. How are you?
Well, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'll rattle through this today because I've got a little bit left to do, and as you see, the Friday deadline, so
Yeah, okay.
lots to discuss.
Okay, we'll do that as well. Yes, and as well, for those that don't know, do check out Fantasy Football Scout's social media and the website as well. There's a lot of content about the double game week that has been newly announced just now involving Neale's team, Newcastle and Crystal Palace. They double in game week 32. Much more details. Fantasy Football Scout on that. Do press that like button, does help us out. And do remember to subscribe, keep up to date with our latest videos and podcasts. Okay, let's move straight on. Brighton against Chelsea. That happens tonight. What is the latest from Chelsea? I'm going to say Brighton first. What's the latest from Brighton as they prepare to take on the London side?
Lewis Dunk's a doubt. He came off last week in the dress rehearsal against Chelsea in the cup with I think it was a rib issue, and Hurtel said yesterday that he was doubtful, and they're going to see if he can train. Estupiñán's still out; he's still in rehab. Solly March just back in training, so not quite ready to return. Matt Weaver might be available again. He's been out for a little while, but he's been back on the grass over the last week or two. Milner, Kadioglu, Ego, and Steele are still out, though.
Okay. Before we move on to Chelsea, I just wanted to check those in the live chat whether you can see and hear us. For some reason, my YouTube has frozen, but we, as far as I know, we're still broadcasting. If you can just let us know that you can see and hear us and we're not just talking to ourselves. Welcome to Brian, Marco, FPL Yellow Army, Rodrev, Exploring, Heather, Barry, and many more. If you can just let us know that you can see and hear us. Okay, let's move on to Chelsea. Okay, what's happening with Chelsea?
Yeah, they have a bit of a double blow up front. Mark, how do you pronounce his name? Gu?
Gooey.
I can't remember how you pronounce his name.
Mark
Gui.
Gooey. Gooey.
And Nicholas Jackson, probably more pertinently, because he has been the starter.
Okay.
Both suffered hamstring injuries in game week 24. It looked like Jackson had avoided serious injury at the time because they were talking in fairly minor terms. But this week it has been revealed that he's going to be out until after the international break, probably.
Okay.
That'll be looking at April before he makes a Premier League return. Lavia's on a similar time frame. He's still out. Fofana is just back in training, actually, 2 days ago. But Maresca said he needs another 2 or 3 weeks before he's 100% fit. Badia Shield's still out. He's working his way back as well. And Mudryk is still provisionally suspended by the FA.
Okay, thanks a lot to Vicky, Rasta Dude, Field FPL, Jack, Barry, and many more who've confirmed they can see and hear us. That is great. Let's move on to Leicester against Arsenal. Let's go with. Can we go with Arsenal first? Because there's some fair share of injury news there, rather than a bit more interesting than at Leicester.
Yeah, it certainly is. They haven't actually had a game for about 10 days, I think. But in that time, they've lost another 2 attackers. But Martinelli, actually, he got injured during that last game, which was the AFL Cup semi against Newcastle. Hamstring injury. No timeline confirmed by Arsenal, but the reports suggest at least a month out. Worse was to follow because Havertz got injured in the warm weather training camp in Dubai. And again, another hamstring injury. This time is going to rule him out for the rest of the season and potentially the start of next as well, or at least affect his pre-season. So we've got Jesus and Saka out as well. No imminent return for Saka. Tomiyasu's out. Possibly might need more surgery. They do get one player back, and that is Ben White. He has been training, and he will be available.
Okay. Presumably he's probably not in your predicted lineup. He's not going to go straight back in, is he?
White, no. I think he'll be a little while before we start.
Okay, right, yeah. And as for Leicester, what's the latest there?
Yes, pretty quiet on the team news front. They did have 3 players flagged after missing the FA Cup 4th round last weekend, or last Friday as it was. Vardy, Vestergaard and Christensen. All minor issues, all have since trained and all should be available. So that just leaves Fatau and Ricardo Pereira on the injury list because indeed he came back in that Man United game.
Righty. Okay, let's move on to Aston Villa against Ipswich. Aston Villa of great interest, double game week for them, and there were a number of flagged players going into this. I've just pressed the button on removing David Moyes and putting Emery in for my assistant manager chip. So let's see if he can replicate the success of David Moyes. Meanwhile, as for the players, what shape are they in for this?
2 fit and 5 out in terms of the injury concern. So the big one is Ollie Watkins. He's available after a 10-day absence with a groin injury. That was the timeline they were following. He is available. So is Tyrone Mings after a knee problem.
Okay.
Now, Memory did say that they've trained this morning and they are in the squad, and that's still not a guarantee that they start.
Okay.
Mings has been out a little bit longer. Watkins, as I say, only about a fortnight. But there is just that element of doubt that they might be in the squad, but not necessarily in the starting 11. They won't be able to call upon 5 players: Matty Cash, Pau Torres, Esri Konsa, who's a recent addition to that injury list, Amadou Onana, and Ross Barkley. They are all out of at least the first game of Double GW25.
Rightio. And as for Ipswich as well, this should be an Aston Villa victory. Those of us with the assistant managership will hope so, but may not be because Ipswich can be tough. But what shape are they in for this?
They drew with Villa earlier in the season. They are pretty much as you were from last weekend in the FA Cup. So Burns, Ogbenny, Walton, and Chaplin still out. Schmolix came back for that FA Cup game last weekend, got re-injured with an ankle injury that he previously had, but it isn't very serious, and he might even come back in the reckoning for this Villa game. So,
Right, yeah.
Not much new, really.
Okay, let's move on to Fulham and Nottingham Forest. We'll go with Fulham first. How are they doing? Oh, they're welcoming a new face back. Is this right? I haven't gone back in time, have I?
No, you're right. I think this is the third time they've signed him. I think because they released him one year and then signed him again a couple of months later. Yeah, Willian is back. He was in the squad last weekend in the FA Cup. I don't think he got on the pitch. I think, and it might be a while before he's in starting contention because he will be in the squad list tomorrow. But Marco Silva said they've got to build up his fitness to get him as sharp as possible.
Right, yeah.
And it's as you were on the injury front. So Nelson, Tete, and Wilson, they're all out and will be for some time. But other than those 3, no fresh concerns.
Okay, those that saw my team reveal video this week will know that I've got an agonising bench decision. Currently, Chris Wood, appropriately, is on the bench. But I'm very nervous here. So I'm a Fulham fan, briefly, for this one. But what shape are Nottingham Forest in for this?
News really from Nuno yesterday. Good news in that Hudson-Odoi's back in training and he could be involved against Fulham. He's been out for about a month with a groin injury. Murillo, I think he got a dead leg in game week 24 and he missed the exit of the game, but he had trained. So we think he's all right. 2 new issues, though, on Tuesday night at Exeter. Taiwo Awani and Carlos Miguel, both backups in their respective positions. Miguel, the deputy goalkeeper, he's got a hamstring injury. And Taiwo Awani has broken his nose and got a suspected concussion. So I think it's safe to say that we won't see him.
Well, blimey, he's got everything going on there. Okay, let's move on to Man City against your side, Newcastle. There's always injury news with Man City. What's going on there now?
Yeah, big blow this. Just when they got nearly a full strength squad back, they've lost Akanji for possibly 8 to 10 weeks. An abductor injury came off against Real Madrid in midweek, and he's had surgery, or will have surgery tomorrow. And they're looking at least 2 months for him. Jack Grealish picked up an injury in that game against Madrid as well. I think, again, it was a groin injury, but this is much less serious. He's just a doubt for game week 25. Pep doesn't think he'll feature, but obviously we're not looking at the same time frame as Akanji. Rodri's still out, obviously. Bob had been back in training, but I think Jack Gone, of the Daily Mail, had reported that he had a setback in training, a minor ankle issue, which has delayed his return. Nico Gonzalez, new signing, he came off against Leyton Orient with a knock. He did make a swift return at the squad on Tuesday, but Pep said this afternoon that he's still not 100%, getting better day by day. And then they got back within the last week, Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake, and Jeremy Doku.
Okay, and as for Newcastle as well, there were some fitness concerns over a number of their players, particularly Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, good news first, and that is Gordon. He should be fine. We've seen him actually in training this week in the gallery, and then this morning Eddie Howe said that he responded well to treatment and he's trained well all this week, so he should be fine. Dan Burn and Sven Botman, relatively positive news on those two because they had groin and knee injuries respectively. Scans have come back with good news, so nothing serious on either front. Botman's still probably going to miss this one because he's still in pain with his knee. Burn, who came out of that Birmingham game last week with a groin injury, we thought that might be him out for a while. He's made such good progress that he might even return for this Man City match. So he's improved a lot very quickly this week, according to Howe, and he'll be very close. Also very close is Harvey Barnes. I think this will be just a little bit too soon, but he's nearing a comeback. And Lascelles and Joe Linton are the ones who are red flagged. Both, I think, looking at March for those two.
J77 Lag in the live chat clearly has been watching a lot of my team reveal videos this season. Joe plus bench equals points. I think I'll play Chris Wood, he said. Okay, so there's for more top tips of who to actually play and not bench, do watch my videos. Southampton against Bournemouth. They're both on the South Coast, but this is not a derby. All people in the North, forget that thought. This is not a derby. Southampton. Let's go with them first. Portsmouth fans look away now. Southampton team, how are they?
It's as much of a derby as Newcastle and Middlesbrough, really. It's that sort of level. Southampton first. They'll have Stevens and Harwood Bellis out, so it's two centre halves down. Lallana's a doubt as well with a hamstring injury. Larios and Stewart are longer term injuries, and Ryan Fraser, he missed out in game week 24, and I had an update on him. I doubt he'd feature anyway.
Okay, rightio. And as for Bournemouth as well, now I saw two photos. One from Justin Cliver announcing the birth of his baby from the hospital bed. I saw the second photo. I think I saw this one first, which was Bournemouth resident Andy Martin lurking in the background. Because basically whenever there's something controversial around team news, Andy's on hand, literally, to deliver a baby there. But what is the latest there from Cliver and the rest of the Bournemouth squad?
I'll deal with the proper injury news first from Bournemouth, so the stuff we do know. Evan Nielsen, Onal, Araujo, Senesi, Smith and Hill, they're all still out. Julio Soler still on international duty. The two players that can get back this weekend are Sinistera and Alex Scott. So they've both trained and they've got a chance. They'll follow in the footsteps of Marcus Tavernier, who came back in the last fortnight. And as for the dad-to-be, I think now is a dad, Justin Cliver.
Yes.
No update from Iraola on that. He was asked about his recent goal contributions and he talked to him in high praise. He didn't mention any sort of doubt for the weekend. Cliver himself has took to social media and responded to some FPL managers' question about his availability this weekend by saying he would be there. And I've just seen a report from the Bournemouth training ground on Sky Sports News saying he is available for this weekend. I don't know if he knows anything or if that's just conjecture.
Yeah.
So it looks pretty good.
Yeah. I think he'll be starting.
It might be a little bit fatigued from those sleepless nights.
He might be, but these millionaires just pay someone to look after the kid while they got a match on. Let's move on to West Ham Brentford. That was it for Bournemouth, was it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to West Ham and Brentford's latest from West Ham, please.
Yeah, Fulkrug and Antonio still out. Somerville has suffered a fresh hamstring injury, so he's going to be out until probably April. So 3 red flags there. The rest of it is pretty good news, though. So Paquetá, Alvarez, and Todibo, who's been out for quite some time, they've all trained this week. Paquetá and Alvarez, you'd think, would start or have a good chance of starting. Todibo is going to be on the bench. Judging by what Potter said, and I think the same with Evan Ferguson as well, who signed on loan from Brighton. He said he's available. But he hasn't played that much football recently, and they're going to have to be careful in terms of how many minutes he plays. So,
impacts up.
I think he was strongly hinting at bench duty at first.
Okay, so it looks like Bowen will be up front there.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, Brentford, how are they?
Yeah, they've got Mark Flecken back, if anyone still owns that goalkeeper. And he will start, according to Thomas Frank. There was no bones about it. He said he's not just fit, but he's going to be between the posts. That's it though in terms of recovered players. So they are still without Rico Henry, Aaron Hickey, Josh Da Silva, Gustavo Nunes, Igor Thiago, all pretty much positive. Hickey's going to be back in full training next week, but needs the equivalent of a pre-season because he's been out for so long. Rico Henry's on the grass, but not with the team. And I think Thiago's running from next week, so they're making progress.
Rightio. Move over to Crystal Palace against Everton. Yeah, there were a number of flags with Crystal Palace as well. Are they've been removed or still in place for many?
Yeah, the one that was on, I think, was Eddie Nketiah, and that's been removed. He had a twisted ankle and he missed out on Monday night, but he's fit. Also fit is Ishmael Assar. He was just ill on Monday against Doncaster, and he's available again now. And Eberechi Eze, he wasn't flagged because that was like a tactical breather on Monday, but it is a niggling foot injury that he's had, and they just choose that FA Cup match to rest him up, get out of a boot, and be ready for this weekend. All three of those are available, Eze, Assar, and Nketiah. So that just leaves Riyadh and Decoria, who are out with long-term knee injuries, and Joel Ward, who we haven't seen this calendar year. Ben Chilwell, according to Glasner, is ready to start, but he did say it doesn't necessarily mean he will because they've been in good form with Mitchell down that side. So maybe bench duty again.
Okay. Okay. As for Everton as well, so they were the stars for many during the last double game week. But yeah, how have they emerged from that?
Yeah, not unscathed. They've got one out through injury and one out through suspension from midweek. The injury is Iliman and Dye, so he came off with a medial ligament injury. That's since been diagnosed with that. And they don't know an exact time frame yet, but they're looking at least a few weeks for him. Decore is suspended. He was red carded in that post-match melee. Just one match suspension because it was for two bookings, so he's suspended. And they won't recover any other injured players on top of that. So Broja, Chamiti, Coleman, McNeil, Calvert-Lewin, Patterson, and Mangala, they're all still out.
Okay, let's move on to Liverpool against Wolves. So lots of questions in the live chat about Cody Gakpo. He's in my team as well. He's going to stay there, I think. But yeah, what is the latest? Will he play?
I don't think so, not this weekend. But as you see, you've still got the second double game week match to come, so you might get some minutes out of him. So starting off with what Slot said this morning, he said he was a bit of a doubt because he came off with what Slot described as a knock. So that's pretty good news, I hope. He came off on Wednesday night against Everton. They're going to see how he is today. Since then, and I've been watching Sky Sports News today, they were reporting from the Liverpool training ground, and Gakpo was not in team training. So it sounds like he might not be risked, even if it's a minor thing.
Oh, okay.
Could still recover. It's a Sunday game. He could be involved tomorrow, of course, and confound those predictions, but a definite concern, I think.
Okay.
They've got two 100% out players, and that's Gomez and Tyler Morton. A third, actually, through suspension, and that is Curtis Jones. He was sent off in that same incident with Decore. So he'll miss the first game of Gameweek 25, but return for that second one against Villa. And of course, Trent, he came back against Everton, got the final 30 minutes as a substitute. Slot said that was a plan all along. And he is going to train, obviously, since then with his team. It's getting fitter and fitter. And hopefully, for my sake, he will be fit enough to start against Wolves.
Okay, rightio. And as for Wolves, what state are they in for this?
Yeah, they nearly got Strand Larsen back, but he's only going to return to full training tomorrow, I think. So they're looking at, I think, game week 26 for him. Hwang is a new addition to the injury list. He came off with hamstring discomfort in the win over, I think it was Blackburn they were playing, and he's going to miss the next 2 to 3 games. Apart from that, I don't think there's anything major. Chiwomi, Gonzalez, Mosquera, Kalajic, they're all out or have been out long term.
Okay, let's move on to the final fixture. Obviously, we don't include the final fixture, which is Liverpool, Aston Villa taking on Liverpool, because we won't know the team using that because they haven't played their first game yet. So last one, Tottenham against Manchester United. Spurs, always good for injury news. I will take a back seat while you parade the many names in front of me.
Yeah, go and put the kettle on, Joe, because I'm going to be here a while talking about this. It's good news anyway if you're a Spurs fan. So starting with the real positives, Vicario's back in training, he's available. Madison's back in training, he's available. Destiny Udogie also in training. I think Postecoglou was a little bit more sketchy on him, and he talked about him more in terms of the next group of players I'm about to discuss. And those are the three wingers, Odegaard, Johnson and Timo Werner. Again, all back on the grass. But Postecoglou was hitting more about next weekend for those three.
Okay.
Especially Odegaard, who's been out for quite some time, and Werner's, I think, a little behind Johnson. So I think Johnson's got the likeliest chance. Out with those three wingers this weekend. We've got timelines on the rest of them as well. So Dragusin we know is out for the rest of the season. And the others, so that's Van der Ven, Solanke, Richarlison, and Romero. We're looking at the next 2 to 3 weeks for those. According to Postecoglou in an interview with Spurs TV, various issues. Van der Ven and Romero are just being careful with mostly, I think. Certainly in Van der Ven's case, Romero's just not healing as quickly as what they'd hoped. But yeah, as I say, 2 to 3 weeks for them, which might be game week 27 for that lot. But positive generally in the Spurs camp.
Okay, and as for Manchester United, any news from them?
Yes, but very vague news from Amorim. He hinted at illness and injury concerns, but didn't name names. So he said he wasn't going to get anybody back. So Martinez, Evans, Mount, and Shaw still out. That may mean that Altea is still out as well. He missed out in the FA Cup, the backup goalkeeper. Other than that, though, he said they've got 1 or 2 issues that they might have, which I think are fresh concern, but we don't know who they are. And another player on top of that who is sick. So again, no names named. We'll have a look online, but we've only got less than we're 2 hours before the deadline, so we might be in the dark with United going into Sunday's match.
Okay, and I'll try and round all that up then, or rather the sort of key names there. So Reece James is available. Hudson-Odoi should be back. Paqueta, Vardy's fine. Ben White is actually back for Arsenal, but probably won't start. Watkins is fine. So is Mings. They will be in the squad. I don't know whether they'll play or not. Flecken, he will play. It's been confirmed he's back and will play. Eze and Sarr and Nketiah all back. So lots of firepower back for Crystal Palace. Willian is back and back again for Fulham. He's returned and will be in the squad. Probably won't start. Cliver is a new dad, but he will start, he says. Whether he is not, we know that. Who knows? But it does seem that he will start this one. Maddison and Udogie are back for Spurs. Meanwhile, Dunk could miss out against Chelsea with a muscle problem that he was subbed off in that last game with. Weaver could be back. But fitness concerns could keep him out. Gordon should play, but he's still, got to be questionable though with a knock. You never know with Eddie Howe. Burn as well with groin problems. Gakpo's a knock, as Neale was saying, has not been seen in training, so it's unlikely he'll play. But he may well get some minutes in this Wolves game, but it looks like he should be okay for the Aston Villa game. He may not be risked for this one there. Gonzalez from Man City, fitness concerns could keep him out. Same similar with Grealish, came off during the last match there. Major doubts, Botman with a knee problem and Barnes thigh problem there. Very unlikely. Out though, Jackson, muscle problems going to keep him out. Gui, his leg problems going to keep him out. Poor Gui. Lavia, muscle problems keep him out. So Chelsea have depleted. Good news for me. So Brian fan. Somerville, hamstring problems going to keep him out to April. Havertz, he's out for the season with the hamstring problems. And Dye, knee problems will keep him out for a little while. Decore is suspended. Konsa is out, so Watkins and Mings are back, but Konsa is still out amongst some other players like Cash is going to be out. Reece Nelson's hamstring problem is going to keep him out, and Akanji is now a problem for Man City. Muscle problems will keep him out. I think we've covered most of the sort of key names there. Okay, we'll be back. I get so confused with the game weeks and the double game weeks. I think next week will be normal, but you never know. There could be another double game week announcement. Neale, anything else to add before we go?
Well, thanks so, Joe. I think all done.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thanks so much for that roundup. Thanks everyone for joining us in the live chat. Do press that like button. It does help us out. And also do remember to subscribe. Keep up to date with all the videos and podcasts like this one. Take care. See you soon.
Bye-bye.